Okay, so hi, I am Kerry Hecht, CEO and founder of 10K Humans, and we are doing an episode of Bridging the Gap today from our friend's office, Emporia, here in Austin. And we have Paula with us today. So, Paula, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what Emporia does?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I'm Paula Martinez, and I'm the Chief of Staff here at Emporia. And at Emporia, we help B2B companies conduct research by helping them find the right professionals to participate in their studies.
Great. And can you walk us through your journey from previous roles to Chief of Staff and how that shaped your view of hiring and the teams that you've got?
Yeah, for sure. So, my professional journey has been anything but linear. I actually started my career as a policy analyst at the United Nations. I was there with the Mexican delegation, worked there for 3 years. And I think there I start to understand or to appreciate more the value of structure and communication and collaboration across different teams, but also, even countries. And then from there, I went into venture capital. So I ran an accelerator program for a pre-seed fund where I got to work with startups and get to understand their immediate needs and, concerns as they were starting to grow the teams. And through that, over time, I met Emporia and I became the chief of staff here. But I think through those experiences, I've come to really value the importance of hiring the right people for a role and really benefiting people that are excited to, take on new challenges and are excited to build cool things and are motivated in their roles.
That's great. So, in your view, what's unique about hiring in a company like Emporia? So, focused on B2B research participants and recruitment compared to other SaaS companies?
Yeah, for sure. So I think that Emporia sits in a very interesting space where we are a tech company. So on the one hand, we are, building platforms, setting up automations, trying to make a lot of processes that have been historically more manual, more automated. But on the other hand, our clients are researchers and we work with participants. So we're also dealing with, client relationships, human behavior, data quality. So I think that when it comes to hiring for us, something that we really value is people that are excited and interested in technology and are seeing automation and AI, for example, as tools for that can help them do, their work better, easier, but they're also excited to, build relationships with the clients, give really good service to our participants, listen to their feedback, and then bring it back to our team.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. I worked for a tech company many moons ago, and it was a market research asynchronous qualitative platform. And they really wanted to be a company. They would use the example of Microsoft, where they were just a SaaS company. And, I would point out to them at the time that in our industry, many clients, even if they're just other market research agencies, or maybe they're, a project manager in an insights department at a brand, they want one-stop shops. Right. So they want you to handle all aspects of the project for them, like the project management, the finding the people, the paying the people, all of those different kinds of things. Are you finding something similar?
Yeah, I think so. So that is something that we are building with our team as well. So on the one hand, we have our platforms that our engineers are working on, and at the same time, we have our client solutions folks that are building these relationships with the clients and making sure that we are targeting the right people for their studies, helping them troubleshoot any questions that they might have, and yeah, just having building that relationship over time is something that we're focusing on.
Yeah, and I was when the guy that I used to work for used the example of Microsoft, I was like, I don't think getting on the phone and sitting in a queue or not being able to get someone to help you
Yeah.
should be what we're aspiring towards. And I don't feel any differently about that now. I mean, we've been clients of some of the largest software companies in our space, and trying to get a problem solved shouldn't take you, 2 weeks when you only have a week to
Yeah.
finish the study.
Exactly. And I think that's where the human side of thing really comes to the fore, like being with someone that is not just interested in making something run fast, but also that is really understanding the question behind the question that the client is giving and going the extra mile in trying to figure out how we can be supporting them is one of like the most important aspects that I think we value here at Emporia.
Yeah, I think it is really important. Like if you don't understand your clients or your clients' goals and priorities, then you're not going to be able to deliver on them.
Right.
Okay, so what hiring trends are you seeing in-house right now? So role types, geographies, and skill sets.
Yeah, so we are currently hiring for software engineers. That's always like an interesting hires that we want to do because this is platform and this is an industry that again like really has to merge the building platforms with delivering a service to clients in real time and being the user experience also has to be very friendly, etc. So we're hiring for that. We are also hiring for, or we've been hiring for client solutions associates. So that's something that I think mostly relates to, or is most similar to market research as an industry. So we have a lot of folks that have had experience in market research, obviously understanding the context for it. So, what is an RFQ? A lot of agencies that we work with having that familiarity with is obviously very helpful. But we're hiring for those roles here in Austin, which is where we have our headquarters. We've been growing our company here. And we also have, managed creative marketing that we're also hiring for.
And how do you see the creative marketing role? I'm kind of going off script a little bit now, but how do you see the creative marketing role fitting in with some of the other roles that you're hiring for and what you guys have on the roadmap as a company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, what I would say is, as a younger company, we've been doing a good job in starting to kind of like show who we are, kind of what we are doing as a company. But I think there's like a lot of story behind it, also of how do you how how do you explain like how AI and technology and automation is still merging and working in conjunction with a lot of the human aspects of conducting research, engaging with participants, having that like human connection to it. So with our marketing, I think it is opportunity for us to be doing more of that storytelling and showing externally kind of what we are standing for and what we're trying to build as a company.
Yeah, and that marketing manager really needs to understand the bridge between those two things.
Exactly.
I'm going to go build on that a little bit. So, I'm always interested in what companies that are new to market research think about market research and some of the different ways that we've done things historically. So, can you talk about anything that perhaps has been surprising to you and maybe tie that to what you're seeing in the applicant pool, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm new to the market research agency and industry, and something that has surprised me is I think there is a lot historically that has been mostly manual, and that there's also like not as much of a chance to reach out and engage and build a relationship also with the participants long term. So I think having an opportunity to show them kind of how their insights is having an impact into the industry that they're working in the long term is something that I find very exciting.
Yes.
And yeah, I think again, going back to kind of how are you leveraging technology to help you do your job? Like I think this is not just for like market research, but I think like in even my background in diplomacy, like there is a lot of hesitation in terms of like how can we be doing our jobs if like AI is going to be taking over. And in reality, is like there is a lot that you can use it as a tool that will allow you to then concentrate more on strategic initiatives that you want to have.
Yeah, I always want to use the example of thinking about it like a calculator, right? Literally, the
Yeah.
first people that were using a calculator were probably, but then I also don't want to use that as an example because sometimes it's a terrible calculator. So, yeah. So,
But it messes up with the numbers all the time.
yeah, it does. Yeah, really shockingly.
Yeah.
Um, so when you think about the role that the participants play in the project and in the way that your company takes care of them, what do you think is the most important thing? Like, if you could say one thing to the market research industry, what would you say about how important the participants are?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think at the end of the day, we have to be very aware of what it is that we're doing. Like, our participant is not just number in the survey that is being completed. They're insights that they have been building throughout their career. In our case, for B2B, the insights that they've been building throughout their career is so valuable and interesting, and I think needs to be, like, treated with, like, as valuable research that it is. And I think on in terms of, like, giving them a good experience, it is, like, we at Emporia, we try to recommend projects that are a good fit for their insights, and then also, having the opportunity to then, like, see how this is impacting in the industry that they're working in is, I think, like, very important for all market research companies to be thinking about.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny that we're so centered, like our every model that we have is centered on people, whether you're a database owner or whether you are a brand that's wanting to interact with people, yet we don't have often we don't, I shouldn't say always, often we don't have very participant centric project designs. And, we know from just the way people behave that, an intrinsic motivation for participating is them learning something,
Yeah.
right? And that could be learning how it is that they're influencing, the brand that the research is, as you mentioned before, is the research that is, sponsoring it. But I do think that we really need to get to a place where we're giving them back as much as they're giving us, especially for B2B recruiting. I think there's nothing that's more important than that.
And I think that recognizing the insights that they have. So, for example, something that we at Emporia started doing earlier this year is giving them a badge of certification. So, when they have been completing a certain number of surveys and providing their insights to this company, then they are experts in our panel. So, having that kind of recognition and, like, gratitude for their participation, I think, is also a good way to show them that we are valuing they're valued members in our community.
And it flips the script a little bit too on this notion that we shouldn't have professional respondents, right? So like that professional respondents, and I would apply this to, B2C research too, where it's like, a person that is skilled at taking surveys or skilled at taking, interviews and knows how to behave. They know when to show up. They know what to wear. They know how to speak. They know all of these different kinds of things. So making it harder for them to take place in as many research projects as they qualify for isn't really something that we should be doing,
Yeah,
especially as our pools are dwindling.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, cool. So, all right. So, for the client solutions associate and creative marketing roles that you're hiring for, what does success look like for those roles in 6 months?
Yeah, so I think historically, a lot of our client solutions folks have not been coming from market research agencies in the past. More recently, we have been hiring more on that, which is very helpful, again, because having the context and kind of understanding kind of the basics of what we are doing is very, helpful at the beginning, especially. Yes. But for us, success after 6 months is definitely getting a lay of the land, understanding our different products, how to run projects, and they're starting to get a sense of, what clients are we working with, what are their questions, how can we start anticipating some of their needs. At the same time, being a tech startup, there is a lot of cross-functional collaboration that maybe doesn't happen in other companies. So our engineers and our client solutions folks and our sales folks are always talking to each other, getting user feedback from the client that goes through client solutions, reaches the engineers. And so it is, how can we be iterating on our platforms to make sure that we are servicing at the best of our abilities and improving on the product constantly.
Yeah, I love that. I think that when you have really collaborative work environments like that, it's better for everybody involved.
It's great. It's great. I think it's very motivating on all ends. It's always exciting for our client solutions folks to be like, wow, like this feedback that we got from the client is getting actioned, and we're able to then go back to them and tell them, like, we heard you, like, we're going to be doing this. On the flip side, a lot of software engineers can be sometimes siloed in just building without necessarily getting firsthand experience of what is the user saying about this, what are the clients asking for. So they're feeding off of each other's energy, which is really exciting to see.
Yeah, I think so, and it also is important, I think, too, especially for the leaders in the company, that you have a solid roadmap and you're not chasing features, right? So like, and I think that open and circle of communication is really important to make sure that that doesn't happen
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. No, it's something that has been a newer experience for me. And I think it's also a newer experience for a lot of folks that have been joining from other market research companies. And that's one of the feedbacks that we get constantly, that they're really excited about how much communication there is with other departments.
So if you think about the kinds of people that you hire, the word that keeps popping into my mind about the kind of person that would be a good fit for this company is curious. And so if you have people who are external to market research as an industry, they need to be curious about market research. And if you've got people who have market research backgrounds, they need to be curious about what it is that you're doing and the roadmap and how technology is interfacing with everything. So talk to me a little bit about how you suss that out in a candidate.
Yeah, for sure. And I think nailed it like straight on the head. Like I am looking for people that are curious and excited and want to take on new challenges. So there is a lot of new learnings that we're doing every day, not just in market research, but then also in operations and, building a startup, which is like what we're doing here. So I think in terms of having that or like sussing that out in candidates, I want to hear about like how do you react to like a new environment that you haven't been into? So tell me about times where, you were asked to do something that you've never done before. And I want them to be like, okay, yeah, like normal to be nervous and normal to be like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do, but then I just figure it out. Like, I want to hear like those stories, and I want to see that people are not getting intimidated, but rather that they see, ambiguity as an opportunity to thrive and just build something that is really cool and exciting to them.
And how do you from a functional skill set, how do you flush out when people really do have the experience that you're looking for versus not, especially as it comes to AI? So this is one of those things that's been
Mm.
popping up in sort of each of the conversations that I've been having a little bit differently. And so, it seems like people who are looking for jobs are concerned that they don't have the level of AI expertise that companies need because not many people do at this point, and companies are looking for real examples of how people are applying AI. So what do you guys look for?
Yeah, and I think that that's hiring in the age of AI is very hard because it is such a new development that is also changing every day. And I think that at least from my end, I'm less I'm not willing to like cross someone out if they don't have experience in AI, but I think like as long as they are excited to learn about it, as long as that's something that I think a lot of like legacy industries, and I've, seen that in, again, previous like jobs,
Sure.
it's been a little bit more like, we do not want you to use AI. Like you have to be like writing this like by yourself, etc. And like we have a kind of a different approach to it, which is like if you can leverage a tool to make your work better, easier, and obviously like you're still like there to review it, etc. But use it, right? Like we want people that are using the tools at hand. So I think, yeah, just like having like that willingness and having that exposure in everyday life. It doesn't have to be like in a work experience, but like, do you use AI
Yeah.
in your personal life to ask a question or like try to improve like whatever personal project that you're working on? That's great. Like, tell me about that.
Yeah, that's great. That's good. And I think that that's really an important message for people to hear and internalize is that it doesn't have to necessarily be experience that they've had at a previous job because the likelihood of them having it is not really high.
It's something that is like changing all the time. I do have to say, when it comes to our software engineers, it takes a village.
Yeah.
It's a little different. It takes a village to hire them, and I'm very grateful. It's a shout out to our engineers, but I'm very grateful for our engineers that they are reviewing like resumes actively, etc., just to make sure that we have the technical requirements that we need. Um, but yeah, I think like by and large, having that curiosity and like willingness to use new tools and to try new processes is something that's really important for us.
Yeah, I always feel like when I'm talking to people that I manage, that there's an aspect of the way they should be thinking about their jobs is you shouldn't really want to do anything yourself, right? From the perspective of like the manual aspect of it, you should be saving that energy for the strategic thinking or the strategic, and that's it sort of overstates it, right? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously you got to do some things. But I really think that people should be thinking about AI that way. So if it takes away, the manual aspect of your job, it frees you up to do more of the things that
Yeah,
require a big brain.
exactly. And in our type of companies, like there's always a lot more work to be done, but it can always be like better work, more exciting work, more interesting work. Like you should always be like trying to build a process so that it can run by itself. So there's a lot of other things that will always, will be there that, we can be thinking about.
Yeah, yeah, and often that work is the more fun work, the more creative work. So, what are some underrated skills or backgrounds that candidates should consider or that you are deliberately targeting?
Yeah, so we've had really good experience with maybe like unconventional professional backgrounds in the roles that we've been hiring for. Teaching is something that has
Sure.
been super valuable for us. I think like when you're a teacher, you have these communication skills, you have lots of patience, you have a sense of kind of like seeing the questions behind the questions, and that's something that we have found very valuable within the team. I think, we've had some people that have had like experience in like venture capital, like myself, our finance manager. I think like seeing small companies that are, like growing over time, it allows you to kind of like see on the one hand, like anticipate like some of the needs. I'm like, okay, like I think this is where we're gonna have to go next. So what can I start doing or thinking about in that sense? Other than that, I think like again for engineers, we're lucky that like our engineering leadership has worked in like some large companies, but lately we're also really prioritizing people that have worked in startups, like again that have experience like building products and instead of like working with a prepackaged product. So like that are excited to like tinker and just be like, all right, like this is where we're seeing things going.
Well, I think too, one of the most important things for a startup is scalability, right? So if you're bringing in people that have backgrounds, that some of the people you're bringing in have backgrounds in taking something that's small and scaling it, I mean, that puts you guys ahead of a lot of other people in that space.
Yeah, I think that's right. Like seeing like a process that has been like repeated like multiple times, you kind of like start seeing some patterns. Some pattern recognition is, super helpful.
Right.
But again, I think, people that have had like more of the teaching backgrounds that we just discussed, it is like come be curious, like learn something new and like be excited to roll up your sleeves and like get in there. Because there's a lot of processes that can always be like created and improved that people that are outsiders will probably have like fresh eyes.
Sure.
And have a lot of really useful feedback.
Yeah, and if there's anyone that needs to figure out how to institutionalize something quickly, it's going to be a teacher,
Yeah,
you know?
they're great.
So, when hiring remote or internationally, how do you assess fit in terms of culture, communication, and ability to work autonomously?
Yeah, so we have our not little actually, our hub in the Philippines. We have a couple people in Kenya and we have someone in Mexico. So we have been hiring internationally. And in that sense, when I'm looking at culture, again, I want someone that is one, excited and interested to work across cultures and that is not just interest in the company and what we're building, but also like the people that you're working with on the day to day. Our teams are pretty international, like they're pretty mixed in terms of like some folks in the US, they work with the folks in the Philippines and in Mexico, etc. So that like being very communicative, being excited to be collaborating with others. And yeah, I think like those are the main things that we're looking for.
Do you look for people who have experience working with other remote teams? Like, is that an important thing to you?
Yes, yes. I think like obviously with time zones, that's also something that we are always thinking about. So most of our folks have worked remote before with other teams, but they have to be, I think like, yes, Yes, I think like that's something that we have been like, prioritizing, but they have to be excited about like working in this team specifically, which is might be very different with like working with a larger agency, or I don't know, with like a big corporation. It's fundamentally like a different process that we're following. So they have to be, willing and able.
Yeah, and I think it's important too, like, when we've built teams that were located in different countries, that of course that they have, their smaller team, sort of the subset of the team, but that they really do embrace the company culture. And of course, it's on everyone to make sure that that works. But that has been something that I think not just our company, but other companies have struggled with at times,
Mhm.
where they're trying to get a culture across
Yeah.
culture.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that we have also learned over time. So, our Filipino cohort has since established, they call it office hours. So, it's just like having structured time for like support on if anyone has questions about some of the processes, etc., like where they're able to just talk amongst themselves and build that relationship within their cohort. And yeah, I think, like, having those systems built in where they can build, like, those relations with them, and at the same time that they are always, like, integrated into conversations with people in the States, people in Mexico, etcetera.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so even though you are new to the market research industry relatively, what do you anticipate for the job market in insights and recruitment tech over the next year? Any emerging roles or skills you think are going to be in demand?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I would say that, just based on what we have been working on here in Emporia and what we've talked about, having that AI knowledge is something that is becoming more and more important in market research, also in other industries. So I would say that there's probably going to be more the product emphases into leveraging, integrating market AI into market research on the one hand. I think on our end at Emporia, like we're also lucky that as we continue to grow, we want to be able to keep providing like excellent service to all of our clients. So more client solutions folks in our future as well.
That's exciting to hear.
Yes.
Yes. So, what advice would you give to someone looking to join a scaling company at this stage or to stand out and be successful in the candidate pool?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say like first of all, reach out. I think that we're always excited to hear from new folks that might be, if any of this sounded excited to you, like please like reach out. We will be, you know, hopefully, like we will continue to like grow. So I would want to be in touch with them. We host, I think also like show up to events. There are a lot of events all over Austin where we are at. That is a good opportunity to go meet new people, ask them questions, meet other folks. We have every other month an pickle and pints event here in South Austin. So that's a good opportunity to come and meet the team, ask questions, meet other people in the tech market research industry. But I think, be proactive, reach out, use AI in your personal projects. And yeah, I think just like roll up your sleeves and get going.
That's great. All right, that's all I've got. Thank you so much.
Thank you.